Injuries among WWE pro wrestlers are unfortunately common. Sometimes they can even destroy or completely derail a career, or alter it in a way that no one ever expected. Let's look at 10 WWE superstars that face significant injuries. Number 10, Stone Cold Steve Austin. At SummerSlam 1997, Stone Cold Steve Austin took on Owen Hart for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Owen wanted to apply a sit-out piledriver maneuver on Austin. However, Austin reportedly wanted to go with a traditional piledriver, which would involve the person applying the move to land on their knees. Owen went with the sit-out piledriver. This miscommunication injured Texas Rattlesnake Stone Cold Steve Austin and would force him to change his entire wrestling style. He would become more of a brawler while still becoming one of the biggest names ever in wrestling. He was dealing with serious neck injuries that would force him to retire from active in-ring competition in 2003. Though he would remain on screen for WWE for many years to come in sporadic appearances, he wouldn't get back into the ring for a full-on match until 2022 at WrestleMania 38 to take on Kevin Owens and close out the big show. Number 9, Bret the Hitman Hart. The Hitman made the leap from WWE after the infamous Montreal Screwjob, very unhappy with WWE, who he gave so much time to and was one of their most featured performers. But when he got over to WCW, everything didn't play out the way he wanted. Despite people still loving the Hitman, delivering great matches, the storylines didn't match maybe what he had prior in WWE. At 1999's WCW Starrcade event, Hart defended his world title against Goldberg. Unfortunately, during the match, Goldberg delivered a stiff super kick, a Sabat sidekick, to Hart's head, resulting in a severe concussion. Hart was unaware of the severity of the injury and continued to wrestle the match, which led to a diagnosis of post-concussion syndrome and ultimately forced him to retire in the year 2000. Hart still harbors a lot of resentment towards Goldberg over the injury and has publicly expressed it numerous times. Number 8, Sid Vicious. Psycho Sid, Sid Vicious, Sid Justice was a force to be reckoned with in the 1990s during his stints both in WCW and WWE. However, one wrong move unfortunately cut the 6'9" wrestler's career short. During WCW's Sin pay-per-view in 2001, the big man participated in a 4 corners match for the WCW World Championship that pitted him against Scott Steiner, Jeff Jarrett, and Road Warrior Animal. During the match, Sid expressed he was still coming off of a shoulder injury and was not comfortable with the scripted flying off of a top rope big boot that he was being asked to do. He still attempted to do the move, and unfortunately, he landed awkwardly with the full weight of his body, his very large body, on his leg, which resulted in a visible compound fracture of both his tibia and his fibula. The injury was severe, the bones breaking through the skin, and the scene was deemed too graphic for some TV stations to air any replay of it. Sid's career was significantly affected, though he did return to wrestling later on in life. He did it with a limited capacity. He later sued WCW for being pressured as a performer to apply a high-risk move. Number 7, Mick Foley. The Hell in a Cell match at 1998's King of the Ring is widely considered one of the most infamous pro wrestling matches of all time, setting a new breakthrough standard for the amount of personal abuse that a single wrestler would take in a single match, at least in the mainstream version of wrestling. Mick Foley, as his Mankind persona, took on The Undertaker, fighting on top of the cell structure when the first major impact happened. That's right, he flew off the top of the cell in a massive moment that has been replayed millions of times. Foley was placed on a stretcher, taken out of the arena before returning to climb the cell once again. The Undertaker executed a planned chokeslam, but what wasn't planned was that the roof gave way, and he would hit the ring floor beneath him. Another chair would land on his mouth, knocking him out cold. The match finally ended after Foley was chokeslammed on thumbtacks. Foley suffered a dislocated shoulder, a severe concussion, several lost teeth, and many other injuries. This was all in one match. It is the match he is most known for. Number 6, Daniel Bryan. Known as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of his generation, a technical wizard who endured a lot of injuries before he even got to WWE, including broken bones, he suffered a series of severe concussions, though, that would force him to retire when he was just coming off a breakout period as a WWE main eventer. On Raw, in an emotional moment in 2016, Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, was forced to retire. This was less than 2 years from his triumph, winning the World Championship at WrestleMania. Bryan would take on a non-physical role as a general manager while off-camera pursuing all the treatments he could to get medically cleared by WWE to return to the ring. Bryan made a joyful return for in-ring action in 2018 at WrestleMania, going on to regain world titles in WWE and All Elite Wrestling. Number 5, Shawn Michaels. The Heartbreak Kid, Mr. WrestleMania, suffered serious back injuries that nearly destroyed his career because they struck just as he was reaching his peak, leaving him barely able to perform even basic in-ring maneuvers. The damage from years of high-impact matches combined with a specific severe injury he suffered landing on the side of a casket at Royal Rumble 1998 caused debilitating pain and limited his mobility and endurance to be the big match performer he was hoping he could continue to be. Doctors warned him if he continued to wrestle, it could lead to permanent damage, forcing him to vacate titles and miss major storylines. His absence created uncertainty about whether he would ever return. WWE eventually did see him come back just 4 years later, and he would have a renaissance at SummerSlam 2002, reviving his legacy in the ring. Number 4, Draws. Darren Drozdov, known to WWE fans simply as Draws, made the leap from pro football to pro wrestling. Sadly, he would suffer a life-altering injury in the ring that left him paralyzed during a match with WWE Superstar D'Lo Brown at a taping for SmackDown in 1999. Draws was unfortunately forced to live the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Despite this setback, he would never express any animosity towards Brown for the incident. Number 3, Paige. Also known as Saraya Knight, Paige was a part of the big breakout division of women's wrestling in WWE in the mid-2010s. Years of neck problems were already catching up with her, but the final blow came in 2017 during a non-televised match where she took an unexpected kick to the back that caused a stinger. The impact caused nerve damage and worsened spinal issues tied to her previous surgeries. Doctors told her that another serious bump could risk permanent paralysis, making it unsafe for her to keep wrestling. Overnight, she went from being one of WWE's most promising young talents to being medically disqualified from in-ring action. The sudden loss of her identity as a performer affected her both emotionally and professionally, pushing her into a non-wrestling role like managing and commentating. Although she reinvented herself outside of the ring, she made a return as a pro wrestler in All Elite Wrestling. The injury ended what could have been a defining career within WWE. Number 2, Big E. Big E's unfortunate neck injury took place on March 11th, 2022 on an episode of SmackDown. The New Day's Kofi Kingston and Big E faced off against the duo of Sheamus and Ridge Holland. During the match, Big E got hit with an overhead suplex outside of the ring by Holland. The former WWE champion landed right on his neck and fractured his C1 and C6 vertebrae. Over the years, Big E has transitioned into a pre-show panelist for WWE after recovering from his surgeries. Also ahead of WrestleMania 41 at a Fanatics live event signing in 2025, Big E expressed that he would like to face Randy Orton at the show of shows if he was able to. The former New Day member replied that he was still not medically cleared. Unfortunately, this may be a sign that Big E has called it a day as an in-ring performer. Number 1, CM Punk. CM Punk's injuries nearly destroyed him because they wore him down physically and mentally during the peak of his WWE career. A combination of chronic knee problems, deep bruising, a serious staph infection, and other issues all contributed to overwork and eventually burnout. Feeling ignored by the medical staff and pressured to keep working, he grew so frustrated that he just left WWE abruptly, taking on other endeavors in mixed martial arts and eventually finding his way back to pro wrestling through All Elite Wrestling. CM Punk would return to WWE at the Survivor Series in his hometown of Chicago in 2023. Is there a wrestler who had an injury that you think altered their career? Let us know in the comments below.